Before I get started, I'd just like to say that there's a very good chance that since I'm starting this earlier in the year, this list might be a work in progress. Maybe sometime before the year is over, there will be something that sells me on some movie that isn't on this list or is maybe too low. Alternately, I might hear or see something that makes me lose faith in one of the movies on this list. I might even hear of some other movie that I've never heard of in my research and decide that it's worthy of being here. But most likely, this will be the order that these movies will be in by the end of the year. So let's get into the honorable mentions. Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, Macbeth, directed by Joel Coen but not Ethan. Will be interesting to see how that goes. Mank, David Fincher directing a movie about the production of Citizen Kane. The French Dispatch, the new film from Wes Anderson. The Lovebirds, the new movie from the Big Sick director Michael Showalter, again working with star Kumail Nanjiani. And The Gentleman, the new film from Guy Ritchie. And now for those high profile movies that people would have heard of without having to actively research this kind of crap like I did. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, the Bob's Burgers movie. Back to somewhat obscure stuff. Antlers, a new monster horror movie that looks really creepy. And now we get to Black Widow, Free Guy, a last minute addition I decided to make after seeing the trailer. A Ryan Reynolds action comedy that actually has an interesting premise and a solid trailer. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, even though the show has kind of gone downhill. Bill and Ted Face the Music. This is either going to be great or a complete disaster, but let's hope for great. And finally, the Candyman reboot, simply for Jordan Peele's involvement as a producer. And now on with the list. At number 10 is Wonder Woman 1984. Gal Gadot returns in the sequel set decades after the original, and I'm not actually 100% sure what year Wonder Woman 1984 takes place in. It will also see the return of Chris Pine and will introduce Kristen Wiig as the villain, which should be an interesting turn for her. The first Wonder Woman was a pretty solid superhero movie, and I'm interested in seeing where the sequel will go. At number 9, we've got No Time to Die, the new James Bond film, and the last one with Daniel Craig as the titular hero. It will also feature Academy Award winner Rami Malek as the villain. It's always nice to see another James Bond film. Hopefully this will be a great spy thriller, action film, and a worthy send-off to Daniel Craig. Number 8 is Dune. Now, I'll admit that I'm not familiar with Dune, neither the original science fiction novel nor the 1984 David Lynch adaptation. I've never read or seen any of them. In fact, I'm really only vaguely familiar with what it's about. But what sells me on it is the director Denis Villeneuve, the director of films like Prisoners, Arrival, and Blade Runner 2049. So I'm awaiting another sci-fi epic from him. At number 7, A Quiet Place Part 2. A Quiet Place was a great, ambitious movie that was both tense and very different from most of what mainstream horror was giving us. Its use of silence both helped it to develop its own style and helped it to make it scarier. Yes, most horror sequels suck, or at least pale in comparison to the original, but with John Krasinski returning to direct, hopefully this will be a serviceable revisit to this universe and use of its unique style. Up next is Soul, one of 2 Pixar releases this year. Jamie Foxx plays a jazz musician who is transported out of his body and must go on some sort of spiritual journey to get back. This trailer is kind of like a cliched motivational video, but it's still Pixar and I still love their work. While a lot of their recent movies have just been okay, they've still delivered many of the best Western animated movies in recent years. And this kind of concept has great potential to be powerful enough to be in that second camp. But out of all the Pixar movies coming out this year, I'd still much prefer... Number 5 is Onward. Tom Holland and Chris Pratt star in this Pixar animated movie about 2 elves that go on a quest to resurrect their father in a modern world inhabited by fantasy creatures. The concept of this world is already fascinating, and the trailer appears to imply that it'll go deeper into it than Bright did. And the humor and emotions shown in the advertising promise something that'll at least be among the better animated films of this year. And number 4 is The Kingsman. I also put it as an honorable mention on last year's most anticipated list. Kingsman 3, although that might just be because I haven't seen Kingsman 2 yet. Yeah, it didn't come out that year. But it's definitely coming out this year, unless something happens. But if it happens at this point when multiple trailers have been out for some time, then we should all probably be worried about it. Oh yeah, and I finally saw The Golden Circle. Maybe it was my lowered expectations, but I actually really liked it. Like, a lot. So, that's enough for it to get on my list, and fairly high as well. It is a prequel to the excellent over-the-top action comedy which takes place in, I think, World War I. It would be interesting to see this franchise's signature sense of action and humor in a new historical setting. If this can maintain the fun of the previous 2, then it could be a real treat. Number 3 is a movie I didn't even know existed until looking up what movies are coming out this year. It's called Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright is doing a horror film about time travel. That's all you need to sell me. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, a rising star in the horror scene, starring in movies like The Witch and Split, playing a girl who can go back in time to the 1960s and things go wrong. I am a big fan of Edgar Wright's style and loved movies like Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Baby Driver. This is definitely something that has my attention. And now at number 2, look out, it's Godzilla vs. Kong. The supposed culmination of the monsterverse, and with the box office numbers for the most recent Godzilla movie, they might actually be staying true to that model. While I was a little disappointed in that movie, I did still enjoy it for what it was. After all, many Godzilla movies aren't exactly high art. This is probably a lot higher than I should reasonably put it, especially since director Adam Wingard, though he's made some decent films, has shown less promise when adapting a certain other piece of Japanese media. But I'm still excited for it. I am a fan of monster movies, and I am excited to see the two greatest giant monsters duke it out this year. And finally, we get to number 1, and it is Tenon. What is Tenet? It's the new movie from director Christopher Nolan. He has kept all plot details vague, but the IMDb page says it's about international espionage, time travel, and evolution. Okay. Nolan has proven himself to be one of the most interesting directors working today, and this should at least be an intriguing movie. If he can bring the same level of intrigue and originality that he did to Inception, then this could be something to look out for. And that's my list for the year 2020. I'm also going to do a least anticipated list. That'll hopefully be out by tomorrow. If it isn't, then just wait for it. It'll come out eventually. Okay, goodbye.